Hi, everybody. I'm going to share a quick video before I start my podcast.
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die. Don't have sex in the missionary position. Don't have sex standing up. Just don't do it. Promise? Okay, everybody take some rubbers.
Okay, so I wanted to show that video real quickly because sometimes that is the reality of sex education in our country and more specifically our state. So my policy proposal is about, sorry, I'm just starting my stopwatch, is a policy about comprehensive quality sex education in Georgia. I was thinking that I might do nationwide, but Georgia just seemed a little easier to condense. So in the United States, only 13 states require sex education to be medically accurate. So that means it usually has a lot to do with abstinence, like don't have sex at all, and like that's kind of the extent of the sex education, if you would even call it that. Um, and then whether or not schools have sex education programs is based entirely on the state, even like the district or the county, and sometimes even if just like your instructor. So Georgia is one of the states that such education is required, but in the code for the Board of Education for Georgia, it states that the guidelines created by the board require instruction to, quote, emphasize abstinence from sexual activity until marriage, infidelity, and marriage as important personal goals. Um, so Georgia is one of the states that do require stress about abstinence, which is quite shocking. Well, not really because we're in the South, but anyway. So that's like the main policy that's in place now and has been in place for a while regarding sex education in Georgia. So the major goals that I have with this policy proposal is to create a policy that will be used regardless of what county you're in Georgia, and to discourage abstinence only until marriage sex education programs because I just don't think there's research that has supported that it isn't always going to actually have kids participate in abstinence. And these programs are funded by the federal government at a whopping $2 billion in the last 35 years. So that's $57 million a year about these abstinence based programs. And then my third goal is to encourage appropriate sex education based on age development and culture. And so the social problem that I'm focusing on with this policy proposal is the lack of comprehensive statewide sex education in Georgia. And then some scientific grounding that I found about how effective sex education that's comprehensive is. According to the CDC, less than 40% of high school and fewer than 1 in 6 middle schools in the country teach all 19 sexual health education topics that the CDC has determined as critical for young people's health. And then research from the Journal of Adolescent Health shows that when sex education is comprehensive, students feel more informed about their bodies, make safer choices, and have fewer unplanned pregnancies and more protection against STIs. And then some major arguments for this policy proposal is like my view about it is receiving sex education should not be based on your state or what teacher you got that year. Like that's crazy. Like in my high school at least there's 4 homerooms, so if one person got a certain teacher, they're not going to have the education that I had, which is a little bit crazy to me. And then teaching teenagers to practice abstinence will not stop them from having sex. It will just stop them from having safe sex and be less educated about their bodies and more prone to make unsafe sexual decisions. And then my third argument, unplanned pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases will be less likely when students have received education about sexual health. And there is research that has been done that does support that. And then some critiques and how I will address those critiques. The one that I think of immediately is on the basis of religion. I went to a Catholic middle school and they taught abstinence. I didn't see any videos about birth or other people that I know that went to public school. Um, and a lot of people had their kid taken out of the class when we did the sex education. And so how I would address that would be encouraging parents to realize that sex education doesn't encourage having sex. It simply educates individuals about sex and sexual health. Education about sex will do nothing but educate. It won't encourage. Um, and then another issue would be doing sex education without parental consent, because obviously people who are middle school and mostly high school are minors. So um, I would include that any parent can exclude their child from the program at their will. I would definitely encourage that they think about it a little bit more before making that decision, but and that is the policy that is part of the Georgia Code right now, is talking about how parents are allowed to exclude their children from the sex education programs if they are implemented in the school. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed my spiel. Thanks for listening.